Hello there, this is David from David Books and Comics, and today we're looking at The Avenger, created by Paul Ernst. Paul Friedrich Ernst back in 1939, during the heyday of the Street and Smith magazines and their super pulp heroes, Doc Savage and The Shadow, who sold I don't know how many millions of copies of pulp magazines. The Shadow itself was twice a month for quite a few years, and then Doc Savage was once a month. So it used to be like what's called a bi-monthly or twice a month magazine. I forget what that's called. Anyway, so in 1939, Street and Smith called in a meeting with two of the main writers of their most successful magazines. That would be Lester Dent, who wrote under the pseudonym of Kenneth Robeson, and of course Walter B. Gibson. And together they sat down and they came up with this concept of this hero. His name was Richard Benson, Dick Benson. Anyway, the story is depicted here on this cover. It's called Justice Incorporated. That was the name of the title of the first pulp magazine per story. And it starts off with a very tragic occurrence in the life of Richard Benson that changes his life forever. He was a successful globetrotter and became very rich. So in the first Avenger story, Justice Incorporated, Dick Benson, now a world-renowned engineer, heads for Montreal with his wife and his young daughter, Alice. And then when he goes to the bathroom and comes back out, they board the plane. When he goes to the bathroom on board the plane, he comes back out, his wife and his daughter are missing, and nobody acknowledges having seen them. So that's how the story begins. They vanish. Anyway, in his subsequent investigation, as depicted in this Classics Illustrated version of Justice Incorporated, published first by DC Comics. This is from June 1st June. It's number 1. And it first came out in the 1970s. So anyway, just give you a line from one of the stories. It goes like this. The fire lit up his wax-dead face and white hair, fire that was saving nations from immediate war. The Avenger had succeeded in the greatest venture yet, but as always, success brought no content to his pale and awful eyes. He did not work for content. He knew that was impossible. He worked only to avenge the memory of his wife and daughter, killed by such scum as these, and for whose deaths all other scum should pay. So that's how the first story ends. The character has this white, almost deadpan face, as you can see on the cover of the comic book, drawn by Joe Kubert. And I only have a few of the Avenger novels. There's a total of 29 or 30. And I'll show you an image of the first one, which I don't have, but this is the second one in the paperback series. They were all published by Paperback Library. Take that away. Maybe I'll show you the comic books first, then I'll show you the paperbacks. There's only a total of 4 in the complete set. The cover art is by Joe Kubert. It's one of his best covers. The interior art is by an artist named Al McWilliams, a legendary comic strip artist that created a character called Raven. Can't think of his last name. Raven something or other. One of the first African American lead characters in the comic strips. So that's, anyway, Al McWilliams did the interior art. The cover art is by Joe Kubert. Subsequent artist was none other than Jack the King Kirby, and this is issue number 2. So cover art is Jack Kirby, and it was inked by a guy named Mike Royer, as you can see there. So that's issue number 2. The creator of Doc Savage, Kenneth Robeson. Like I said, Kenneth Robeson was a pseudonym or a house name that hid the names of usually Lester Dent and Paul Ernst. All right, so that's Justice Incorporated, the Avenger number 2. And then we have the third cover art, Jack Kirby, interior art, Jack Kirby. And it says, yeah, Al Milgrom did the inking, but that's a Jack Kirby cover. So that's issue number 3. This is a good copy. And this is the last issue. And again, it's Joe Kubert, beautiful Joe Kubert cover. And the interior art is Jack Kirby and Mike Royer. The writer is Denny O'Neil. The writer for the entire set, the series, was Denny O'Neil. All right, so these are the 4 issues of Justice Incorporated. A simple collection to complete with only 4 issues. All right, so I'll show you a cover number 1. Beautiful cover featuring the art of, I think, Larry Hama, if I'm not mistaken. Bama. Let's see. Let me just check. This one has a tape pull on the cover. So let us look. And we have, who do we have here as the artist? Steve Holland is the model in these things. Yeah, so it's a 1939 copyright date. Second printing, November 1972. It's a Warner Paperback Library. All right, so that's issue number 2. And then I'll show you number 3, another great cover. That's the Skywalker. Let's see what it says on the blurb. It says, the greatest crime fighter of the 40s returns. In the roaring heart of the crucible, steel is made in the raging flame of personal tragedy. Men are sometimes forged into something more than human. It was so with Dick Benson. He had been a man after the dread loss inflicted on him by an inhuman crime ring. He became a machine of vengeance dedicated to the extermination of all other crime rings. Paul Ernst is a really good writer, one of the better of the pulp writer. He went on to write for Slick magazines and made more money doing that. It says, the Skywalker, a harsh droning sound from an invisible plane, a man mysteriously walking in the sky, and huge skyscrapers collapse like matchsticks. Can the Avenger halt a master criminal's reign of death and destruction? Typical pulp story, just bombastic in its size. And this is a reading copy of number 6. This is the Blood Ring. This is actually the first one I ever bought of the Avenger, thinking it was like Doc Savage. Little did I know it was a little more, not quite as fast-paced as Doc Savage was. Doc Savage, I could go through like a hot knife through butter. Just really quick read. That's the Blood Ring, the Avenger. And this is number 7. I think at this point, Paul Ernst is still the writer. He wrote, I can't remember exactly. There were a total of 24 Avenger novels from the magazine The Avenger, reprinted in paperback by Paperback Library from 1972 to 1974. Ron Goulart wrote the remainder of the paperback series. So there was also a continuation of The Avenger after his original magazine folded. M.L.C. Tepperman wrote as Kenneth Robeson in short stories from Clues and the Shadow, and they were eventually reprinted. All right, so that's the entire run. So after number 24, the original pulp novels were picked up by Ron Goulart. All right, so you'll see the ones I have by Ernst, and those are the ones I enjoy the most, actually. Here's another rough copy of number 9 of The Avenger. Beautiful cover, though. These are not cheap when you find them. People know their value and are putting big price tags on them nowadays. So that's number 9. Here's number 11. This is River of Ice. And priceless relics of a lost civilization hidden for centuries in a glacier, an ancient manuscript describing an operation which transforms the victim into a robot. Can the Avenger halt the collapse of the modern world once these discoveries have fallen into evil hands? All right. So that's number 11. And this is number 28. It's called Dr. Time. Dr. Time. Nice cover. And number 29, it's kind of a horror tale. The Night Witch Devil. And, oh, it's gross. It's, the artist is George Gross. All right. Signed by the artist. And I believe that's the same. Yeah, signed right there, George Gross. All right, so that's The Avenger. Character created by Paul Ernst, but with the input of both Walter Brown Gibson, the creator of The Shadow, and Lester Dent, the creator of Doc Savage. So today, I think those books, the Avenger books, read a lot better than they did in the past because they're simply better written. Like the Doc Savage, they tend to be fast-paced adventures. In my view, when I was first picked up the Avenger way back when, they weren't quite as fast-paced as the Doc Savage books were, with some original concepts and some very futuristic science fiction type of adventures. I can still remember a lot of the stories that I read in the Doc Savage adventures in particular. And there's a reason why Doc Savage, more than The Shadow, and even maybe The Avenger, I don't know why the series stopped, because I suspect as I read them today, they are even better than the Doc Savage in comparison. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this look at the comic books and the paperbacks with these gorgeous covers. And thanks to everyone for your subscriptions, and thanks for the comments. There's always learning to be had. A lot of the commenters I notice are to the information. So if you get a chance, just read the comments because you can learn also from them. Very learned people watch our booktube channels. All right, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.